welcome to today's webinar, How to Make Secure Online Payments Simple with 3D Secure 2.0, which is brought to you by Asseco. My name is Zdravko Barec, and I'm Solution Sales Specialist at Asseco Group. I work for Payton, company which is a member of Asseco Group dedicated to delivering payment solutions. I'm mostly involved with our solutions related to 3D Secure, contactless payment with mobile devices, and payment-related key management solutions. I will be your host and one of today's speakers. I'm pleased to say that today, here next to me, is Dubravko Kovacic, Product Manager at Asseco, responsible for 3D Secure and payment-related key management products. He is an expert with significant experience in payment industry. As you might know, Asseco is one of the largest IT companies in the area of production and implementation of its own software solutions and services in Europe. We have 3D Secure related products in our portfolio since year 2006, and we are aligned with mandates from all major major card schemes. In second half of this year, we will also have certified 3D Secure 2.1 products for both issuing and acquiring domain. We are focused on proprietary software and services, and as you can see, our yearly revenue is almost 2 billion euros. We have 24,000 employees, and we are definitely the largest IT company in Central and Eastern Europe. Also being the sixth largest software vendor in Europe. Today, we will talk about this new version of 3D Secure, and we will hopefully provide you with an overview of technology changes and enhancements, as well as corresponding roadmaps and milestones related to major card schemes. We hope these topics will provide you with information valuable to your organization. Current 3D Secure version was introduced back in 2001, and it wasn't significantly improved until finally new version was released in 2016. This new version 2.0 or 2.1, since we already moved further to this version, is fully new protocol, not backward compatible to the version 1, and it is significantly enhanced. With final goal of this presentation is to see how to deploy this new protocol and to provide frictionless user experience without jeopardizing security. As I already said, Asseco has its own 3D Secure solutions since 2006, and we have many satisfied customers. We are delivering both issuing part of such solution called ACS, Access Control Server, and acquiring part which is called MPI, Merchant Plugin. We are working mostly with issuing banks and processing institutions, although we can as well integrate with merchants and payment gateways. You can see our references on the slide that is being presented currently. We will today cover topics which are 3D Secure business drivers, 3D Secure version 1 feedback and version 2 goals. We will introduce 3D Secure 2.1 and show you our portfolio. Also, we'll show you roadmaps related to 3D Secure 2.1. So, if we look at the e-commerce perspective today, we can see that approximately 10% of retail sales is done in e-commerce today, out of all retail sales. And it is predicted that almost 50% of retail sales will be e-commerce sales in year 2020. We can also see that the 70% of e-commerce payments, depending on the region, is done with payment cards. With this high amount of online purchases, or so-called card not present payment, we are experiencing also the rise in fraud and in corresponding chargeback costs. Correspondingly, 66% of all fraud related to payment card happens in this card not present payment. Okay. So basically, the issue that we have with card not present payments is that we cannot authenticate the card holder as we would be able to do if we are having the card holder present at our point of sale, like selling something in the physical world when card holders come to your store. So if there is no efficient authentication mechanism, then anybody can impersonate somebody else and commit fraud, provided they have this required information such as PAN number and expiry date and also CVV number. To fight this, there are many possible solutions, 3D Secure being only one of them. However, 3D Secure is currently deployed at around 40% of all issuers, but it is expected that by the end of this year, more than 50% of the issuers will use it, which is a significant rise year over year. This is because merchants see all the benefits of 3D Secure, which we will also describe during this presentation. So what are these benefits? For the card holder, 3D Secure brings increased confidence in online payment when they are purchasing on the internet. For the merchants, they get granted liability shift for fraud and for disputed transactions. For the issuers, they get decrease in e-commerce fraud and related chargebacks, and also better customer satisfaction by having more complete product offering. So what are the current feedbacks and what is happening today with 3D Secure? Currently, with the version 1 of 3D Secure, we do have increased security, which leads to reduced fraud, and liability shift is implemented. However, it takes a long time to conclude payment. If we put this current 3D Secure in context of world in which we live today, where everything is rather quick, and when you are doing purchases online, perhaps from your mobile phone, you want to have purchases done as soon as possible, and you cannot wait. And this 3D Secure process sometimes takes time, which is very bad for the customer, because then they might take the other card from their wallet, which is not participating in the 3D Secure scheme, and pay with that card. So also, depending on implementation, there are additional passwords or pins to remember. Checkout process can sometimes be very confusing because you are redirected to your issuing bank's ACS web page rather than staying on your web shop, which you are using at the moment. So this sometimes confuses the card holders. There is also poor mobile device experience because this version of standard was done in year 2001 when mobile devices as we have today were not being used. This all results with low conversion and poor adoption by merchants. So to solve this, we have new version of 3D Secure, which has a goal to offer refined user experience, which would then lead to higher conversion rate and better acceptance by merchants and issuers, which in the end should lead to more secure online payments with less fraud. And now I will give the word to my colleague, Dubravko, who will explain further the details regarding this topic.
Thank you, Zdravko. Hello, everyone. Business and technology improvements that are expected to be deployed into the secure payment process should be brought by specification 2.0 and 2.1 through several enhancements, technology and business process enhancement. So we identified here some of them, which are main important, but there are many others. First of all is integration with mobile applications. As Zdravko mentioned, that e-commerce is not anymore as it was 10 years ago. So now purchasing and payment is done through laptops, tablets, mobile browsers, and mobile applications. So it is necessary to support from technology perspective to support mobile applications. From this purpose, 3D Secure expects in a solution, SDK, so mobile SDKs, which are built in mobile application who will initiate payment transactions. Of course, mobile browsing was improved in a way that now responsive web is supported, which wasn't the case from a previous version. Second improvement, which I would say is the biggest one in a process, considering the process and the user experience, is risk-based authentication. So that was enabled by advanced risk modeling and predictive analytics, which are currently possible in real time during payment transaction. So this process of evaluating risk during transaction and make appropriate authentication level. That will definitely improve. User experience, and it's expected that checkout time will be reduced by 85%, and card abandonment will be decreased by 70%. So that was the main obstacles in user experience in the previous version. Also, new authentication methods, technology improvement of technologies and mobile devices enabled to use some stronger and more applicable authentication methods. So biometry and multi-authentication options can be integrated in version 2. Of course, all other authentication methods, strong authentication methods, can be deployed as well. And something that has that came into life with HEC, so tokenization, which will definitely put additional security improvements for securing payment data, especially card number spans. So tokenization is not mandatory in 3D Secure, but technology is supported, and probably it will be mandated in some future years because most of the card schemes are suggesting to have tokenization supported in 3D Secure transactions. Those others, recurring payments and card on file and digital wallet support, is a result of aligning with current situation in an environment, in payment environment. So recurring payments, which wasn't supported previously, card on file, almost all merchants who has a mobile application, they have a card on file option, and there is plenty of digital wallets, either commercial or proprietary digital wallets. So in order to support authentication on those channels, it must be supported in version 2. Non-payment message category is something new, which makes 3D Secure not only necessary, linked and related to payment. So in fact, 3D Secure became a tool for authenticated person. So you can use it for any other service which requires user authentication. So as I mentioned, main point was to improve user experience, and involving frictionless flow that will probably increase, give the biggest benefit to user experience. Frictionless flow is something that is completely relied on the risk-based authentication. So considering real-time risk assessment, so transactions will be analyzed and scored according to riskiness, and based on that, ACS or issuer can deploy one or the other type of authentication, or no authentication at all. So I will show you here how frictionless flow can look like when mobile application is used, or when cardholder is making a purchase using mobile application that he downloaded and installed on his mobile phone. So when he downloads the application, he will probably register and put some data, his personal data in it, and then he can choose goods or services that he wants to buy or purchase. And he will either enter his information, deliver information, and card information, or he will use one-click payment, card on file, or if it's integrated with digital wallet. So probably those data will be entered once and just reused in each payment purchase. So after he wants to confirm payments or buy, he will initiate the payment and whole process will start. And after a while, he will get a confirmation that payment is authenticated and confirmed. So that should be a user experience in 3D Secure 2. So he didn't enter a PIN, he didn't enter a one-time password, he didn't enter fingerprint, he didn't do anything. But what has happened in background? So this is an environment of 3D Secure, which consists of 3D Secure environment, which is partially overlapping with acquiring and issuing a payment card network environment. So on the issuing side, there is a ACS server. On the acquiring side, there is a 3DS server and a merchant domain. That means application, purchase and payment application, and directory server and card network as a card schemes. So when clients use the mobile phone, in this mobile application, there is a built-in iOS 3D Secure SDK, who will, when it comes to this step, he will initiate the payment transaction towards 3DS server. 3DS server is something like, this is it corresponds to merchant plugin previously. So 3DS server will send authorization request to an exact directory server, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, which brand is used, and this will forward this to authorization request. This is the same as it is at the moment. But the difference is that in that message, there is much more data which will be exchanged from merchant domain to issuing side, and those data are data related to transaction, to the merchants, to cardholder. So all those data should be used in the risk authentication, which should be done based on behavioral checks, previous purchases, device metadata, user history on device, location of the device, merchant checks, merchant fraud threat checks, and so on. So you see there is much more data, 10 times more than it was in version 1. Those information will be calculated in issuing side, ACS, but probably in some additional tool, which is fraud monitoring or risk assessment tool, which will, in an authorization request, he will respond whether it is low risk, so cardholder is probably authenticated, or not. In this situation, it will be frictionless flow, so it will decide that no additional authentication is necessary, and through the server or a payment gateway provider will initiate authorization request to acquiring bank, and authorization response will be done after a while, and through the server will get a confirmation from payment gateway that authorization has passed or not. It's not necessary only to authenticate yourself, you have to have enough money on the account. So if everything passed well, through the server, through iOS SDK, will send information to the application that payment is authenticated and confirmed. But sometimes may happen that risk analysis will give a result that transaction is higher risk or very high risk. I would like to show this user experience, but using the web shop, just to show you how different channels can be used. So web shop will be used here for purchasing, to choose the goods and servicing and pay, but authentication will be done on another channel on the mobile phone in the 3D Secure that is called out-of-band authentication. So after clients choose the goods and he enters the data for payment and delivery, he will initiate transaction on the web shop, and if issuer is using that kind of authentication method, this is a push, fingerprint via push, he will get a push message that application that he needs to authenticate himself by a fingerprint, like this. And when he make a fingerprint authentication, first he will get a confirmation on a mobile application side that fingerprint validation is correct, and after a while he will get the confirmation on a web shop that payment and transaction has been confirmed. On the background, this is a little bit more complicated process, but not much. Now initiation is done not on the mobile phone, but on the web browser, on the web application, through integration via HTTP API or Java API or web service to directories to 3ds server, which will again make the same initiation authorization request with all those data I mentioned before. But here it will be respond that challenge is required, that authentication is required. Then on the merchant domain, authentication challenge request will be sent to exact ACS server on the issuer, on the exact issuer. So in fact, merchant domain can talk with any ACS server. In this situation, some third system out of the band system will be used. So ACS server will request out of the band authentication, no matter what channel is used. Here is a mobile phone. When that comes in multiple checks, multiple responses, when everything is okay and authenticated, he will send a challenge response to merchant domain and back to 3ds server. Just to be sure that everything here on the merchant domain passed correctly, ACS server will send the result request to directory server to get the final confirmation if everything is authenticated correctly. If so, 3ds server will initiate payment transaction as usual and send the confirmation to website. So as you see, the user experience and the process is quite different than the existing one. So there will be definitely in transition period, there will be confused users when they move from version 1 to version 2, especially when some cards will be enrolled in the new version, some banks will be, some other will not. So they will be definitely very confused. EMVCo and the car schemes gave few advices how to make this smooth migration. And three of them, the most important, is that it is suggested to make risk-based authentication for existing 3D Secure. That means to the version 1. That means it's not necessary to authenticate every transaction, but you can use some rules based on risk assessment, if possible, or based on some limits or predefined limits or risk rules that you can leave and enable transaction without authentication, just to get used clients to this situation. Another one is to avoid activation. Activation during shopping is already abandoned by all card schemes, but there is still activation. So the advice to issuers is to activate all cards. Third one, deploy biometric authentication if it's possible, of course, as the authentication which is secure enough like one-time password, but it's much more confident and simple than one-time password, the other strong authentication methods. So, in fact, the idea is that to make a transition of business process through some transition period from version 1 to version 2, and considering our product, which I will talk about later on, that some things can be deployed in old version. For instance, move from static password to two-factor and biometric authentication to make BIN enrollment, that means activate all cards, and to use some risk-based authentication using available data. The problem is that you don't have enough data to make such detailed analysis like in version 2. Of course, with moving to new solutions, with new systems, issuer will be able to support application-based m-commerce. Acquirers will be able to support application-based m-commerce, but all those additional data will be available for analysis. Just few words about roadmaps, because since its release, the deadline of 3Secure 2 adoption and sunset of 3Secure 1 has been targeted to the end of 2020. But initial activities and deadlines were postponed due to delay of EMVCo readiness for product testing. So, considering card schemes, Visa and MasterCard made significant actions in roadmaps to the new standard. So MasterCard, for instance, in this year, in May, MasterCard has started early adopter program, which is covering only frictionless flow. So you are able to move some BIN or BIN range to the Secure 2, but only with frictionless flow, because that can be tested and deployed through this early adopter program in MasterCard. And this program is planned to last up until October this year. But there still was no truly secure product certified at EMVCo because of delay in the testing slot. So it's questionable if this was sufficient for issuers to adopt in this period. But independently from 3D Secure 2, there is, of course, a mandate for static password that shouldn't be no longer supported after end of this year. And through 2018 and until April 2019, issuers are encouraged to move to identity check from secure code to identity check. But first step of moving is just visualization. So that can be done in version 1, but you just change, you just apply to the program to MasterCard and you change visual logo and so on to support identity check, and issuers must to deploy strong authentication methods. So identity check does not support static passwords. And the deadline for identity check compliance is 2019, but this deadline includes 3D Secure 2 as well. So you can start moving to identity check with 3D Secure 1, and through 2019, issuers should move to 3D Secure 2. Deadline for 3D Secure 2 for MasterCard is September 2019, and I would say that almost all milestones related to 3D Secure are targeted to 1st of September, both for issuers and acquirers, both for 3D Secure 2 and Identity Check program. And from this date, the liability shift will be applied to merchants for 3DS 2. There are auto-enrollment as a requirement. Biometric authentication is and risk-based authentication and transaction risk analysis is also mandated with this date, but it should suggest that that should be deployed immediately where possible, like I mentioned for transition transition period. In considering the visa mandates, I would say that visa mandates are a little bit more complicated, not so straightforward. But again, initial plan was to launch a doctor program in the second half of 2017, but as I mentioned, that was a delay in the start. So visa extended deadline for 3Secure 2 until April 2019. That includes merchant liability shift. But merchant liability shift, considering that date, depends on the issuer, whether issuer is supporting BIN, if BIN is enrolled to the secure scheme 2 or not. If it's not, then liability shift for merchant does not is not applied before April 2019, and after April 2019 is applied no matter issuer is enrolled BIN or not. But after 2019, April issuer are mandated to have been enrolled in scheme 2. Of course, as I mentioned, still deadline for applying version 2 and sunset of version 1 is end of 2020. Very important part of this webinar is also to show you how Asseco can support issuers, acquirers, and the merchants to fulfill such demanding requirements and timelines. So our product portfolio, which is covering 3D Secure 2 generally, is 3DS 2, which is successor of our mature 3DS 1, which is in a market since 2004, and very similar to other vendors, especially because of the fact that this protocol version 2 is not backward compatible. We decided to rebuild all products, whole product and whole portfolio from the beginning. So in fact, we will have both options for some period. So 3DS covers both issuing and acquiring part of the secure environment. On the issuing side, there is an ACS server, access control server, which is the heart of the secure process. And there are, in ACS, there are built all the secure functionalities except transaction risk analysis and authentication analysis. The reason for that is that those two functions are very often deeply integrated with the issuing banks, like authentication for m-banking, for web banking, and also risk assessment. Also, issuer banks have some fraud monitoring and risk analysis tools, and ACS is open to integrate it with those solutions. Of course, to assure best user experience, considering the authentication, it is preferable to use same authentication methods and tools as it was used for m-banking or internet banking channel. On the acquiring side, 3DS server is inheriting MPI, and it works almost the same as MPI for web integration, but for mobile mobile integration, it is necessary to produce SDKs, which will be deployed in a mobile application. So that reduces effort both on mobile application development side and necessity for certification by EMVCo, because SDK will be certified as a part of those products. It has to be maybe highlighted that each SDK can communicate with its own 3DS server, but they can communicate user HTTP, APIs, or web or Java with ACS server, with any other ACS server. Just a few common features for this products. All products, ACS and 3DS server, is built architecturally to support multi-tenancy. That means that more financial institutions can be deployed on the same instance of the server or the solution, which is, of course, main prerequisite for the implementation of ACS and 3DSS in the hosting platform, either at the processors or aggregators, or as we have service for issuing banks or issuing requiring banks. So for this reason, we have kept focus on the easy customization through web administration tool, and also to define to enable very granular role-based administration. Just a little bit, let's take a little deeper look into ACS architecture, because ACS, I would say, is the most complicated part of 3D Secure or whole framework. So there is a multiple integration where ACS can be integrated with. Apart to ACS core module and administration module, which is doing main functionalities of whole process, there is integration with risk engine to use third party for risk assessment, authentication, different kind of HSM, host interface, tokenization interface to support tokenization, some kind of customer service. I will show you one that we provide, notification interface for push notification, email, SMS notification, and of course reporting from a issuer perspective. So we wanted to use very modular architecture in order to be able to deploy solution and tailor solution to each bank and customer, but by using standardized protocols such as JSON, SOAP, or HTTPS, either for integration in between modules or with third-party modules. As I mentioned, ACS supports different kinds of authentication methods, but the authentication is done on the external module, but must be supported as in ACS. Also, I want to highlight that risk-based authentication is authentication. That means it's not just risk analysis, it's authentication based on that analysis. So also PSD2 is considering risk authentication for risk-based authentication as a type of authentication. One-time passwords, all other standard authentication methods, including biometry, are supported. And also we are keeping in mind and focus some future authentication methods, which will probably be deployed in web shops like web authentication. Another very complex part of the system is risk analysis. As I mentioned, ACS can support third-party solutions, but we have our own, which is built by our company, Asseco company, Enact, which is in fact enterprise fraud monitoring solution used for POS, ATM, online payment, internet, and mobile banking transactions. And this is very sophisticated tool, which is calculating score based on user profile, history data, transaction data, positive and negative list, which is based on rules definition, which is enriched with self-learning mechanism. And this self-learning mechanism are different econometric statistical methods, which are creating a profile, and which can identify distribution by applying parametric and non-parametric tests. Of course, this transaction risk analysis is giving risk score, but authorization decision is done in ACS based on this risk score. This is on the acquiring side. This is how infrastructure and the framework will look like. So 3D Server is a central part of acquiring side, and it's integrated, as I mentioned, through HTTP APIs to web shops or current files. But if mobile applications are used, there is a mobile SDK, which has own 3D API for communication with the 3D server, and standard communication with directory server is also extended with HTTP APIs for integration with digital wallet. As I mentioned on the beginning, digital wallets are supported, so you can you have a method here to revoke cards from digital wallet. One interesting part, which is not mandated by schemes and the secure specification, but it can improve increase usability, usage of secure, and give a cardholder a feeling that he can check and manage those transactions and risk rules. So it can be standalone application or SDK, which will be integrated with mobile banking application, and that will give cardholder possibility to check all the secure enabled cards on one place, because he can have cards by several banks. Transaction history on one place, managing risk rules. So, for instance, he can initiate white or black lists they own, or to secure transaction limit. Of course, it must be within a limit set by the issuer. And also, if issuer supports multiple authentication methods, cardholder can choose which is the one which is the primary authentication method. Just to give you information about our roadmap, as I mentioned, testing is recently, testing possibility in EMVCo is recently open in May, and our plan was we are doing now certificate testing in EMVCo and certification, and our plan is to finish it until September to be able to launch ACS as a product, and hosting service, because hosting service requires some additional certification, PCI DSS, PCI 3DS. So this is planned for end of 2018. For acquiring side, we are planning 2019 developing 3DS server, and it should be ready for certification in July, similarly to be certified in September, and also hosting service should be deployed at the end of 2019. Those are targeted supported programs, same as we had for version 3D Secure version 1. And maybe just to summarize few things to takeaways from all of this, that webinar: frictionless flow, risk-based authentication, and biometry will definitely improve user experience and reduce checkout time, and definitely will increase usage of 3D Secure. Tokenization will additionally secure sensitive data, and probably those three things will became de facto standards in the future years. Of course, you probably realize now that there is a significant implementation effort, and I would say bigger effort on the issuer side, but considering the liability shift, chargeback costs will also burden to issuers. So this is a very strong business driver for issuers to deploy this to the secure tool, and we can only conclude that MasterCard and Visa deadlines are quite short, and it's very, very, very tight and challenging. And from our perspective, from Asseco perspective, we can offer consultancy to you, and in order to tailor to the secure solution to optimize migration costs and maximize those benefits that everyone, including issuers, acquirers, and the merchants want to get. Thank you very much. That was just one information. I added this slide recently. Coming soon to the secure version 2.2. At the moment, there is a comment period which will end 20th of July, so in few days. Those specifications are now including key features and protocol and core function draft specification. So very soon we will see what is new in version 2. 2.2.
Okay, so I will give the microphone to Zdravko now.
Okay, so this is the end of the presentation, and now we can perhaps answer some questions. Okay, so I see one question here, and I will try to put it in as little words as I can. So, Dubravko, can card holders somehow disable risk-based authentication and demand to authenticate all transactions personally?
Yes, this is a very interesting part, and as I mentioned, this SDK and this application, technically, cardholder can do that. So cardholder can be able to change those risk rules if it's increasing security, but if it's decreasing, this is not possible. But MasterCard and Visa, for instance, they gave expected risk score on the 3D secure transactions, and they said they will monitor it because they want to assure to their clients, to their users, very smooth and frictionless experience. So they will say that most of the transactions, there is one document from MasterCard, they said 80% of transactions should be as a frictionless, so without authentication. But if cardholder and issuer wants to increase the security, they cannot override this. So you can increase security, but you shouldn't decrease.
Okay, Dubravko, thank you very much for answering. I see one other question here. So it says, isn't the supporting of static password for verified by Visa eliminated from April 14, 2018? Can you please address this question?
April 2018. So considering the static password, there were different mandates for different regions. I think for this region, static password was.
So we are talking here about Eastern Europe, or?
Yes, for Eastern Europe, and they said April. Yeah, April 2018 is for most of the world, and October 2018 is for Central Eastern Europe and Middle East and Africa. This is a visa mandate from May 2017. I don't remember if it was earlier some other date.
Okay, and we have another question. Will 3DS server be ready and certified on time for mandates? So I think we covered this with a slide.
You probably, I understand. You probably think about mandates, which is for April for Visa and September for MasterCard. Yes, that will be for us very challenging, but we are thinking about that. We are not sure because still, if you consider EMVCo, there is still no possible to test 3DSS. At the moment, we can test ACS. So I don't know if really that's feasible, but we will see how when EMVCo will be ready for testing. But our plan is focus first quarter and second quarter in 3DSS. It's tight for April, but for September we are planning to fulfill September definitely.
Okay, and I see one other question which was asked during the presentation. It says, can issuing institution use different authentication methods for different cardholder groups?
this is a question of technical solution. I can say for 3DS, yes. So in fact, in ACS we can define the authentication methods per bank, per bin range, per channel, or any other rule that you can define. So rules which are based on the data that we can that we get in the transaction. So from 3DS, yes, it is. There is no limitation on specifications. In fact, you can use one authentication method for one card, another one for another card.
Okay, Dubravko, thank you very much for answering.
Yeah, there was another question I see. Does this mean that MasterCard and Visa should postpone deadlines? That's the question I would like to comment. When we speak with the banks and highlighting to the banks that there are very tight deadlines, I have very often experienced banks said, yes, but this is the first deadline, it should be postponed several times. So I would say that the banks or institution already get used to that deadlines are moving or some waivers are given. So I would say that it's obvious now, for instance, in MasterCard, when they said that they have an early adopter program, which is from May to October this year, and at the moment there is no certified product in EMVCo. So you wasn't able to certify the product in EMV a week ago because they didn't have a full scope of testing ready. So I don't know how they plan to fulfill this very tight deadline. So all of us, we are expecting few postponements of deadline.
Okay, great.
Okay, we will again check all those questions and send back to you if we didn't answer something, because it's very difficult to find it. It's rolling down quickly.
Thank you everybody for listening to this webinar and for attending it. We are very happy to see a number of participants, and we hope that you will participate in further webinars such as this one that we will have for maybe some other product or for 3D Secure also. Okay, have a nice day and take care. Goodbye. Bye.